Hey everybody, and welcome to another Cricut Craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button down below. I would love to have you as part of my crafty family here on YouTube. In today's video, I am going to show you guys how easy it is to use your Cricut to address envelopes. I made this really simple and easy to do envelope for you guys, and I'm going to show you guys how simple this truly is. We're going to send some mail off to Winnie the Pooh at Disney. The address I'm using is the actual Walt Disney World address to send to characters, so you can absolutely use that to send a little letter over to your favorite Disney character. Let me know in the comments below who you would send a letter to. Personally, I'm a Winnie the Pooh gal or Olaf, so I'm going to go ahead and send one off to them. It's really fun. They'll typically send you back a little autographed postcard, so it's a fun activity for the whole family. I'm going to take you guys over to Design Space and show you how easy this is to do. So let's get started. We're going to actually make the envelope in Design Space as well because they have a ton of great envelope templates. So it's a really easy way that you can use up some cardstock, make it really special. So what we'll do first is go to Images, and we are going to search for envelope. They have a ton of different styles and kinds and all sorts of options. So just choose whichever one you like. Personally, whatever you want to do. I'm going to use this pink one here because I just like the shape of it. And I'm going to click Insert Image. So here is our envelope. Now you can resize this. Just make sure that it fits on whatever kind of paper you're using. So we're using a 12 by 12 sheet, so we can absolutely make this bigger. You also need to know what size paper or card you want to put inside because that's going to kind of base the size of your center here. So this center is not very big. And one way you can kind of check what size it is to just take a square and go ahead and click the little unlock button down here and just line it up best you can. It doesn't have to be exact with the middle here. And you can see that the inside of this is about 4.5 by 3. So you can fit a 4 by 3 card in here, which is pretty good size, but you can absolutely make this bigger. So I'm going to make this a bit bigger. I'm going to do it, let's see how big we can fit here. Looks like this one we're going to be able to fit a 5 by 3, almost 4. So we can definitely still go bigger if we want. I want to make this pretty big. I pretty much want to make it about as big as I can. That way it's going to be really easy to kind of fold up a card or put a little postcard inside because we're going to send some mail over to Disney because why not, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and just make this 11.5 and that should fit plenty. But this is just an easy way to kind of check the size of the middle of your card because that's how big your piece needs to be to fit in the card. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. We don't need that because we're going to put the address. We're going to have Cricut write the address. That way it's nice and neat and easy to read. So the first thing that I'm going to do is get out my text box and I'm going to fill in my text. So we're going to send this to the Walt Disney Company. And we're going to send this care of Winnie the Pooh, why not? And they are at P.O., and this is a real address, so if you guys do want to send mail to them, this is their real address, P.O. Box 10040, and it's Lake Buena Vista, which is spelled just like it's on the screen, Florida, and their zip code is 32830.0040. So that is a real address for the Disney Company if you want to send anything. A lot of times if you send stuff to them, they will send you back like a cute little autographed postcard, so it's really fun. It's a fun thing for kids to do, and I'm actually going to fix my Florida. I realized I didn't capitalize the L, so we'll go ahead and fix that. Make sure the rest of it looks good before I do anything else, just to be safe. And I'm going to size this down a little bit just so we can see it better. So now what we want to do is we want to go into our font folder, and there's a couple ways you can do this. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do this with a Cricut font. So what you're going to do is go over to the word filter, and you want to find ones that are called writing fonts. So go ahead and click writing, and these are all the fonts that should write in a single line format, and there's a ton of different options. So it just depends on the look that you want to go for. I do recommend if you're sending this in the mail to make sure that it's an easy to read font, nothing too swirly, because you want to make sure that it gets to its destination. So I always just recommend trying to find something that's pretty easy to read. This one looks pretty good. This is Lyrical Letters 2. So we'll go ahead and select that one. Once it's changed your font over to the correct font, because it has been a little bit slow and it does tend to be a little slow sometimes, what we'll need to do, I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see it. If you just change your line type over here to draw, what you'll see is that it's going to draw it with the holes in the center. So you need to make sure that you change the style of the font over to the writing style, and that will change it to the single line version of that font. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this font, and this is not the font I want to use. I'm going to use the font QWERTY. It's one of my favorites when it comes to a Cricut branded font for writing. I think it looks really nice and it's super easy to read. So here's the QWERTY. This one I just like. I think it looks cute and it's easy to read. So that's one of my favorite ones. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and size this to about where I want it on my envelope. And I do try to make this kind of large so that it's easy to read, especially when it's going through the mail. But I'll show you another option as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is duplicate this really quick just to show you another way to do this. So I'll make this one really big. Now, there are free writing fonts, and I have a whole bunch of them in a video that you can find linked in my description down below. But if you go over into your system fonts, you need to make sure you turn off the filter, and you can find some fonts that will actually write really nicely with just by using really thin fonts, and when you size them down, they're going to look like solid fonts. So keep that in mind if you want to do something different. Just kind of play around with it. And this one looks really, really solid. I mean, you can see it looks really good. So I will link that video down below that has the free writing fonts on it. But I'm going to go ahead and move this really quick. And then we'll just go ahead and add a return address because why not? So we'll just add my name, Main Street. So we will go ahead and put our return address down in there. And again, I want to make sure that I change this font to the same one as this. It doesn't have to be the same, but I'm going to use the same one. So what I want to do is I'm just going to go into my Cricut fonts. I'm going to go ahead and filter them back down to writing. And you don't necessarily have to filter them. If you know the name of your font, you can just look it up. This is QWERTY, which is a really cute font, but you can just search it if you know the name of it, which you can find right there. So we'll just use the same font. Now again, we'll go ahead and place this on our envelope. So once you kind of have it sized the way you want it, and make sure you do leave room for a stamp if you're mailing this, make sure everything is set to draw. And what you're going to go ahead and do is select the envelope, all the writing, and the score lines, and click Attach. What that does is it tells Design Space to keep everything in place the way that you have it, so that you can easily keep everything exactly the way you wanted it, exactly in the right order. It doesn't matter what color your envelope paper is on the screen. You can put any color that you want. Just make sure that you can easily read the name if you are going to mail this. That's something to keep in mind if you're going to do any kind of mailings with these. Make sure that they are legible. Make sure that they are in a dark enough color that they can be read. You don't want your mail to get lost. So we can go ahead and click Make It. Now it's going to tell us it's a big project. It does this every time lately. So just ignore it and give it a minute to load. Sometimes it can just be a little bit slow. Now you'll see that you have your mat, and we are going to need to use a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and we're going to need to use a pen. Now you can use any color pen that you want, and you can use Cricut pens, but I do have a video, and I'll link it below, on how to use some of the other brand pens. I have a whole bunch of Sharpies that I love to use, but for this one, we'll go ahead and use a Cricut pen. That way you guys can really see what the Cricut pen looks like on the envelope. So all we'll do is click Continue. And then we'll need to choose the type of paper that we're using. I find with the paper I'm using, it is medium cardstock that works best. Now, we are using some paper from Michaels in those big packs that you get really cheap. Super love those. And we're going to need to make sure that we have a pen, a scoring wheel, and the light grip mat. Now, if you don't have the scoring wheel for the maker and you're doing this either on the Explore machines or you're doing this without the scoring wheel, all you'll need to do is click Edit Tools, and you can select your scoring wheel here, and you can actually change it to your scoring stylus. Now, I do have the scoring wheel, so I'm going to go ahead and use it, but I do highly recommend if you don't have it, the scoring stylus is a great option. So I'm just going to click Apply. We'll go over to the machine, and I'm going to show you guys loading the mat, how to put all the tools in, and then we're gonna get it all written out and cut out. The first thing that we need to do is to change the tool in the B clamp to our scoring wheel. Now your scoring wheel is going to have the quick swap housing top on it, which is this top that has the little button. See that silver button up here? Your other housings won't have that, and your scoring wheel is going to have the number 1 right on the side of it. You can see the number 1 right there on the bottom. So what you'll do is open your clamp B just by pulling open the tab and pulling out your regular everyday housing. When you put your scoring wheel in, you want to make sure the gold gear lines up with the gold gear on the back. Go ahead and close your housing. We also need to make sure that we insert our pen into clamp A. So go ahead and just open clamp A just like you did clamp B. Take your pen and take the cap off. I always put my cap right on the end of my pen just so I don't lose it. And then you want to put your pen right in. What I do is I hold one finger under and one finger on top of my pen, and I push down until it clicks. Once it clicks, you can go ahead and close clamp A. It's really important that you make sure that the clamps are closed or it's not going to hold your tools steady. Now what we're going to do is place our paper onto our light grip mat. So what I do is I like to slide my mat under my machine. That way I'm not trying to put the whole piece of paper down at once. And I just line that piece of paper up with the lines on the mat. Best I can. That wasn't very good. Sometimes it can take a trial or two to get it lined up. But once you get it lined up, it's really easy because you can just push your paper right back down onto your mat. I just find that way a lot easier than trying to work with the entire 12 by 12 sheet. Now all we need to do is load our mat and wait for our Cricut button to light up. We'll go ahead and let you guys watch this cut and draw. I'll get you guys a little bit closer so that you can see it. Now that it's done scoring and drawing, the machine will let you know over on your computer screen that it's time to change tools. So the first thing I always do is remove my pen by opening clamp A and just popping the pen out and making sure to close the cap. I do that so that I never forget to close the cap on my pens. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do is open clamp B and take out my scoring wheel. Once you've taken your scoring wheel out, you can replace it with your blade housing. So go ahead and put that in, close clamp B again, and then just hit the little Cricut go button again. And I'll let you guys watch this cut from overhead. Now that it's all cut out, it's time to take it off of the mat. So a quick way to get this off the mat without bending it is to flip your mat over so that your mat is face down, and take your mat and roll it off of your cardstock. So you'll see my cardstock is lifting over here, and this is a brand new mat, so it's really sticky. So I'm just using my hand to help press my cardstock down without bending it, and you can see I'm just running my hand all along my cardstock, and you can get the backing part off as well. And you just take your hand and hold your cardstock down flat. Once you're done, make sure you replace the plastic back onto your cutting mat. That helps keep it clean of debris. Now you can see we have our envelope. It's all addressed, really nice and neat, and it looks really cool. These are great for wedding invitations too. Just a nice, neat way to do this. So now you can fold on your score lines to make your envelope and glue it together. Now I am not somebody who really does a ton of paper crafting, so I don't really have a good suggestion on a fantastic glue to use quite yet, but I am looking for some good suggestions. So if you are a paper crafter and you use a really good glue, can you let me know in the comments? Now another tip is to make sure that you have let your ink dry before really putting your hands on it. You can see I'm not really touching where my ink is, just to make sure that I don't get any, but I did get a little bit on my finger, so I have a little smudgy right there. But typically I would let these sit for a little while before doing anything with them in order to allow them to dry. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is fold the back flap over here. And this is obviously not folded quite correctly, but that's okay. What you'll do is you'd fold these ones in, glue the bottom one down, and then glue the top one to it. And I actually might have done this slightly upside down. It might actually go that way. But you can see now that you have this really nicely written out envelope. And you can mail this. It's really nice cardstock. You can read it really, really well. Like you can see, look how nice and neat that is. And this is just a really fun way to use your Cricut, to use that writing feature, and I just think it's a really fun way to add a little something extra special. You can use really fun fancy fonts, but like I said, I really do recommend making sure they're easily read, at least for the address. Not necessarily have to be perfect for the names, but definitely make sure that address is easy to read. This was a really fun and easy way to write with your Cricut. And don't forget, I've put links down below to help you guys out with some of the free writing fonts and a few other things. If you all have any questions, let me know in those comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. It is totally free, and I would love to have you as part of my crafty family. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and happy crafting!